last week, Governor Jindal signed into law House Bill 12, which became effective last Friday. I think y'all kind of run some stories and done a few things on it already. But it classifies the synthetic marijuanas and bath salts as a Schedule I drug and attempts to define a more broadly basis, because what was taking place is when they, if you remember correctly, several months back, the governor declared this by executive order against the law, kind of short term, and as we did that, we recognized that they were even changing the substances up some more, which kind of circumvented that law. So this hopefully takes out all the loopholes, and keep in mind what we're dealing with. Sometimes drug dealers are very innovative and creative, and this should prevent that from happening, because it made it very broad in its form. But House Bill 12 allows any chemical compounds that remotely resemble the components of these dangerous drugs. So hopefully this will help. Synthetic marijuana, this is typically smoked through like regular marijuana. Some of the common names for these are Kush, Voodoo, K2, Black Spice. I think we got you some samples here. The American Association of Poison Control Center has received more than 4,500 calls since 2010 concerning these synthetic marijuanas. Side effects include rapid heart rate, elevated blood pressure, seizures, severe agitation, confusion, anxiety, and as you can imagine, as a police officer on the street having to deal with this, you know, in these state of minds that they get into on this stuff, it makes us have to deal with them sometimes by fighting them or hallucinating and those type of actions that they're under control of these drugs. So the bath salts are typically snorted. They can be smoked or injected. Some of the names of those are Vanilla Sky, Ivory Wave, Ocean, or White Dove. And the Poison Control Center have had numerous calls on these related bath salts. Some of the side effects for them were hallucinations, suicide thoughts, rapid heartbeat, heart palpitations, agitation, some of the same as the synthetic marijuanas, chest pains, breathlessness, nausea, vomiting. Sometimes when these are taken with other drugs, they can lead to personality changes, paranoia, and sometimes violent episodes. So as you can see, they're very dangerous. Even though they're bought over the counter, it doesn't mean that they don't have dangers to them and can affect them in a very negative way, and even death sometimes. The active ingredients, it's going to be in your packet. Tracy's here. I'm not a scientist, and it's a very long word, so I'll let them describe that if they need to you. But we did include it in the press conference, in your press release. What the you like that? Sorry, I can't read that. It's you know, real bath salts, and I'm talking about what you would buy for the reason of taking a bath. Its true form, what it's supposed to be for, just has sea salt and Epsom salt. So, you know, if it doesn't say that on there, if it has one of these other components, then of course you need to be very careful and look at what you're buying, because it is illegal now. And I'm going to say this to the convenience store owners and to the clerks that work in our convenience stores. We're going to take a very aggressive stance. Our district attorney's office is going to take a very aggressive stance, and we're going to arrest them and we're going to prosecute them if they're in possession and or selling these products at our convenience stores. That means if we go into a convenience store and we buy these products, or we see these products, regardless, either way, I'm sure we'll do undercover buying, and we'll do just spot checks at our convenience stores. So if we buy it, they're going to be not just the clerk, but the owner of the store. They know now that it's against the law, and it's been very highly publicized here in the last few weeks. That's why we're doing this story on it. We're going to arrest both the clerks and the managers and the owners of these stores, and we're going to prosecute them. Again, these are very dangerous substances, and you know, we're taking it very seriously, just like we do any other drugs. And they're not gonna do this in our parish. They're gonna have to abide by the laws that, you know, these are convenience stores. These are where our families go into to buy, you know, goods and services, and we don't need our children going in there buying drugs out of a convenience store, because that's what they're doing. And we're going to take a very aggressive stance. This stuff is very dangerous for our young people, and that's why these laws were enacted, to help us and to prevent this. So the penalties are the same penalties for Schedule I drugs. Possession with intent to distribute is not less than 5 years in prison, nor more than 30, with at least 5 being without the benefit of parole or suspension of sentence, and a fine of not more than $50,000. That's for possession of the bath salts or intent to distribute. Simple possession, which is 0 to 10 years in prison, or a fine up to $5,000. For the synthetic marijuana, it's possession with intent to distribute, not less than 5 years nor more than 30 in prison, or a fine of not more than $50,000. Simple possession, first offense, this is for the synthetic marijuana, a fine not more than $500 or parish jail time up to 6 months. Second offense shall be a fine of not less than $250 nor more than $2,000, or 0 to 5 years in prison. Third offense is 0 to 20 years of hard labor and a $5,000 fine. So I think that the legislature and our governor have done a great job in listening to us, law enforcement, and our district attorneys. Both of our associations were pushing these bills, and I think it's very important that people realize and recognize, and I'm specifically talking to moms and dads right now, that their children, before this law was enacted, could readily and easily go to any convenience store, and there was really not much we could do at the time. Again, we had the law that the governor passed, kind of a quick fix, but it only targeted specific compounds. So all they did was change the compound, and then bam, we're back in the same situation. So this is a remedy now that's long-term, and we feel has teeth in it, and is going to solve our problem. But again, that's providing that we can rid our convenience stores, and you know, they can solve that. Our convenience stores can not have it on their shelves and not sell it, and that's what we're demanding that they do, because if they don't, we're going to make cases on them, we're going to arrest them, and we're going to turn it over to the district attorney's office for prosecution. We're not going to have any tolerance for it.
You address the clerks and the convenience stores. What about if you guys pull somebody over and you find this in the car?
Yeah, they're in possession of it, absolutely. It's illegal, they're in possession of it, and they will be arrested for it. So,
have you guys had any cases, known cases of this in Calcasieu Parish yet?
well, it wasn't illegal up until last Friday. I think what we did, whenever the governor signed the last order, we sent our vice detectives and some of our CAP members out to all the convenience stores and said, look, you know, this is illegal, take it off your shelves. You know, we kind of gave them a grace period, because we weren't also sure at the time that if you remember correctly, the governor did this to try to help law enforcement, but we weren't sure if it was going to really hold up in our court systems at the time. We knew we could do something and we were in the right, but we decided we'd go to every convenience store, and so that's what we did, and asked them to voluntarily take it off the shelves. Am I accurate? And that's how we approached it. Now, you know, there's no grace period. It's been signed by the governor. It's the law, and they're going to have to abide by it.
We ran a story last night. A guy went into the home with his car. He died.
Right.
But have y'all had any cases like that where it's been suspected?
Well, I think we've had some calls to hospitals where yes, it was suspected, and you know, we've had calls from parents who have found this stuff and had problems with a child with paranoia and some health problems as related to it. But at the time, again, we really couldn't do nothing, because it was not against the law. And these substances, although they were very dangerous, they could easily be received and purchased at pretty much any convenience store that had them. Some convenience stores chose not to, but if you see on the prices, they're making a pretty good penny on these things, and it's about money for them. There's no question about that. For us, from law enforcement standpoint, it's about the safety and health of our children and what they can readily get. I mean, this is stuff, again, I say it, they can easily get at a convenience store like it's candy. That's a problem. So that's why we're taking such an aggressive stance on it. That's it, unless you got questions. Texas.